The crystal chandeliers of the Grand Plaza Hotel ballroom cast dancing shadows across the annual Morrison family reunion. I adjusted my simple black dress, feeling distinctly out of place among the designer labels and diamond jewelry that adorned my more successful relatives. At 35, I was the family's designated disappointment, or so they thought. "Anna, there you are." My cousin Victoria's voice carried across the room with practiced authority. She was impeccably dressed in a Chanel suit, her recent promotion to executive vice president at Morrison Technologies evident in her bearing. "We were just discussing everyone's achievements this year." I fought the urge to check my phone, where an urgent email about tomorrow's billion-dollar merger sat unanswered. Instead, I plastered on a polite smile and braced myself for the annual ritual of subtle degradation. "Hello, Victoria. Congratulations on your promotion." I kept my voice neutral, remembering the stack of confidential documents in my home office that bore Victoria's increasingly desperate signature requests from the past month. "Thank you, darling." She air-kissed my cheek, her perfume expensive and overwhelming. "I'm surprised you heard about it, given how disconnected you are from the corporate world." She gestured to our gathered relatives. "We were just discussing how everyone's doing so well. James made partner at his law firm, Sarah's running her department at Goldman Sachs, and of course I'm handling Morrison Tech's biggest merger yet. Aunt Eleanor, Victoria's mother and my father's sister, joined us, champagne flute in hand. And what about you, Anna? Still doing that consulting thing?" The way she said consulting made it sound like I was selling magazine subscriptions door to door. If only they knew that Phoenix Consulting Group, the firm they dismissed so easily, was actually... Yes, Aunt Eleanor. Still consulting. I sipped my water, thinking of the meeting scheduled for tomorrow morning, the meeting where Morrison Technologies' fate would be decided, though Victoria didn't know that yet. 10 years, Victoria mused, shaking her head with exaggerated concern. 10 years since you left that promising position at Anderson & Co. to find your own path. And what do you have to show for it? A small consulting practice that nobody's ever heard of. I thought about the private island I purchased last month, the 3 homes in different countries, and the fact that I was Victoria's boss's boss's boss. Not that she knew it. Phoenix Consulting Group operated entirely through subsidiaries and shell companies, with my name carefully hidden from public records as the founder and CEO. I'd built it into one of the most powerful consulting firms in the world, specializing in corporate restructuring and major mergers. "We do all right," I said mildly. "How's the merger going, Victoria? I heard there were some complications." Her perfectly maintained smile flickered for just a moment. "Nothing I can't handle, though I wouldn't expect you to understand the complexities of a billion-dollar merger." James, our cousin who just made partner at his law firm, joined our little circle. "Are you still working out of that small office downtown, Anna? You know, I could help you find a real job. My firm's always looking for administrative support." I bit back a laugh, remembering the meeting last week where James's firm had desperately pitched their services to Phoenix Consulting Group, unaware that the mysterious CEO they were trying to impress was standing right in front of them. "That's so kind of you, James," I said, watching him preen at my apparent gratitude, "but I'm comfortable where I am." "Oh, honey," Aunt Eleanor interjected, her voice dripping with false sympathy, "you shouldn't settle for comfortable. Look at Victoria, she's about to close the biggest deal in Morrison Tech history. The merger with Global Tech will make her career." If they only knew that Global Tech was one of my shell companies, created specifically to force Morrison Tech into a position where they'd need Phoenix Consulting Group's help. Victoria's biggest deal was actually my carefully orchestrated plan to teach my family a much-needed lesson in humility. "Speaking of the merger," Victoria said, checking her designer watch, "I should go. Early meeting tomorrow with the consulting team. They're just advisors, of course, but we have to humor them." She gave me a patronizing smile. "You should come by the office sometime, Anna. See what a real business looks like." I thought about the meeting she was referring to, the one where I would be sitting at the head of the table, not as Anna Morrison, the family disappointment, but as A.N. Phoenix, the reclusive founder of Phoenix Consulting Group. "Actually," I said, finishing my water, "I have an early meeting tomorrow too. A signing ceremony for a rather important contract." "Oh." James smirked. "Finally landed a big client for your little consultation business?" "Something like that." I smiled, thinking of the stunned expressions I'd see tomorrow. You could say tomorrow will change everything. As I left the reunion, I heard Victoria's carrying whisper, "Poor Anna, still a nobody after all these years. What a waste of potential." In my car, I finally checked the email that had been buzzing in my pocket. It was from my COO. "Everything's set for tomorrow. Morrison Tech's board is desperate to close this deal. They don't realize we're the ones holding all the cards." I drove home to my penthouse apartment, the one my family didn't know about, and spent the evening reviewing the final documents for tomorrow's meeting. The merger agreement was complex, deliberately so. Buried within its hundreds of pages were clauses that would give Phoenix Consulting Group significant control over Morrison Tech's operations. Victoria thought she was orchestrating a simple merger. In reality, she was about to hand control of her company to the cousin she'd spent years mocking. In my home office, I opened my safe and pulled out a thick folder labeled Project Morrison. Inside were years of documentation, every dismissive comment, every condescending remark, matched with corresponding business decisions that had slowly but surely led Morrison Tech into my web. Tomorrow they would finally learn that success doesn't always wear designer labels or broadcast itself from chandeliered ballrooms. Sometimes it works quietly in the shadows, building something far bigger than anyone could imagine. I picked up my phone and dialed my assistant. "Sarah, make sure the conference room is ready for tomorrow's 9 a.m. meeting. And please have the photographer on standby. I want to capture every moment when the Morrison family realizes who really runs Phoenix Consulting Group." As I prepared for bed, I couldn't help but smile at the thought of tomorrow's revelation. Sometimes the best revenge isn't served cold. It's served with a billion-dollar merger agreement and a signature line that reads, "AN Phoenix, CO." The Phoenix Consulting Group's headquarters occupied the top 5 floors of downtown's most prestigious office tower. I stood in my private elevator, ascending to the penthouse conference room, watching the city wake up through the glass walls. "Good morning, Miss Phoenix," my assistant Sarah greeted me as I stepped out. After 10 years, she was one of the few who knew both sides of my life. "The Morrison Tech team is waiting in the main conference room. Your cousin Victoria is apparently quite vocal about the delay." I checked my reflection in the brushed steel walls. Gone was the intentionally understated Anna from last night's reunion. Today I was AN Phoenix, CEO of one of the world's most powerful consulting firms. "How long have they been waiting?" 20 minutes. Sarah's smile held a touch of mischief. "Miss Morrison has mentioned her important position approximately 12 times. Well then," I straightened my jacket, "let's not keep them waiting any longer." The main conference room was a testament to power, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a commanding view of the city. Victoria stood at one end of the massive table, mid-rant about the disrespect of being kept waiting. James sat nearby, presumably there as Morrison Tech's legal counsel. Several board members, including my uncle Robert, Victoria's father, and Morrison Tech's CEO, occupied the other seats. "Finally!" Victoria exclaimed as the door opened. "Do you have any idea who I dash?" Her voice trailed off as I walked in, her expression shifting from outrage to confusion to disbelief. "Anna." James stood up so quickly he knocked over his water glass. "What are you doing here? This is a private meeting." I walked calmly to the head of the table, setting my briefcase down with a quiet click that seemed to echo in the stunned silence. "Good morning, everyone. I apologize for the delay. Shall we begin discussing the Morrison Tech Global Tech merger?" Uncle Robert found his voice first. "Anna, this is highly inappropriate. Where's AN Phoenix? We're here to meet with the CEO." "You are." I sat down, nodding to Sarah, who began distributing folders. "AN Phoenix. Anna Morrison Phoenix, founder and CEO of Phoenix Consulting Group, and as of this morning, the majority shareholder of Global Tech Industries." The silence that followed was absolute. Victoria had gone pale, her designer dress suddenly seeming like a child's costume. James was frantically flipping through the documents Sarah had distributed, his legal training kicking in as he searched for a loophole. This is impossible," Victoria stammered. "You're just a small-time consultant. You work out of a tiny office downtown." "That office?" I smiled. "It's one of our meeting spaces for local clients. Phoenix Consulting Group operates in 47 countries. We own this building, and as of today, we're about to own a controlling interest in Morrison Technologies." I stood up, clicking through presentation slides that detailed exactly how I'd built my empire while my family was busy underestimating me. 10 years ago when I left Anderson & Co., everyone thought I was throwing my career away. What you didn't know was that I'd already secured contracts with 3 major international clients. While you were mocking my little consulting business, I was building a global network of subsidiaries and partnerships. Uncle Robert's face had turned an interesting shade of gray. Global Tech. It's your company? Through a series of shell corporations, yes. Just like the venture capital firm that's been buying up Morrison Tech debt for the past 3 years. I met his eyes across the table. The same debt you're hoping this merger will help you resolve. But Victoria sank into her chair. The merger terms, the consulting fees are non-negotiable. I pulled out the final contract. Phoenix Consulting Group will assume control of Morrison Tech operations, restructure the management team, and implement a new corporate strategy. You can't do this. James interjected, his legal partner bravado cracking. The board won't approve. The board already has. I nodded to Sarah, who displayed the voting results. They did so last night after reviewing the complete terms. Terms that make it clear Morrison Tech will face immediate loan recalls without this merger. Uncle Robert stood up slowly, his authority visibly crumbling. Why, Anna? Why go to all this trouble? I leaned back in my chair, letting the morning sunlight illuminate the conference room. Why? For 10 years I've watched this family confuse wealth with worth. You've measured success by the size of your office, the brand of your clothes, the exclusivity of your social circles. But true success. It's built in silence with strategy, patience, and vision. Victoria, still struggling to process the revelation, found her voice. But at the reunion last night you just sat there while you mocked my little consulting business? I finished for her. Yes, I did. Just like I've sat through 10 years of family dinners where you all took turns pitying poor Anna who couldn't hack it in the corporate world. Each condescending remark, each dismissive gesture, they all helped build this moment. I stood up and walked to the window, looking out over the city I'd quietly conquered. You know what's ironic? While you were all so busy showing off your positions and promotions, none of you noticed that Phoenix Consulting Group was behind every major corporate restructuring in this city for the past 5 years. None of you questioned why Global Tech seemed so perfectly positioned to acquire Morrison Tech. None of you wondered why your little cousin Anna could afford to keep turning down your job offers. James, still frantically searching through documents, looked up. The Anderson merger last year. The Blackwood acquisition. That was all you? All me. I turned back to face them. Every major deal you've envied, every corporate takeover you've discussed at family dinners, I was the puppet master behind them all. And now it's Morrison Tech's turn. Sarah distributed another set of documents. These are the new management contracts. Victoria, you'll find your new position on page 3. Don't worry, you'll still have an office, just not quite as impressive as your current one. Victoria's hands trembled as she flipped to the page. Senior Project Manager? But I'm Executive Vice President. I corrected gently. The board agrees we need fresh leadership. Someone who understands that true success isn't about titles or corner offices. Uncle Robert, who had remained silent, finally spoke. The family trust, our shares, are now under Phoenix Consulting Group's control. I sat back down at the head of the table. Don't worry, you'll all retain your positions as shareholders. Minor shareholders, but shareholders nonetheless. The room fell into stunned silence as the full impact of what I'd accomplished sank in. Years of planning, of careful maneuvering had led to this moment. My family had built their success on appearances and connections. I'd built mine on strategy and silence. Now, I picked up my pen. Shall we sign the merger agreement? I have another meeting at 11. One by one they signed. Victoria's signature was shaky, James's almost illegible. Uncle Robert signed last, his hand heavy with the weight of realization. As they filed out of the conference room looking shell-shocked and defeated, I called out, "Oh, and Victoria?" She turned, her mascara slightly smudged. Next family reunion, try not to mock anyone's career choices. You never know who might be signing your paycheck. After they left, Sarah brought in a fresh cup of coffee. That went well, she observed with a slight smile. I took the coffee, savoring both its aroma and the morning's victory. 10 years of planning, all for this moment. Was it petty? Perhaps. But sometimes the best lessons come from the most unexpected teachers. My phone buzzed texts from other family members who'd already heard the news. The family group chat was exploding with messages, ranging from shock to disbelief to sudden attempts at friendliness. I opened my laptop, ignoring the messages. There was work to be done. Real work. Not the kind that required designer suits and social climbing, but the kind that had built Phoenix Consulting Group into what it was today. Sarah paused at the door. Your sister called. She wants to know if you'll still be attending Sunday family dinner. I smiled, thinking of the stunned faces I'd seen today. Tell her I wouldn't miss it for the world. After all, family is family, even when they need $1 billion lesson in humility. As the sun climbed higher over the city, I began reviewing the next acquisition target. Success, I'd learned, wasn't about proving others wrong, it was about proving yourself right. And I had done just that, one quiet victory at a time.